can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
That's kind of a perfect lead in. How are you, Teri?
I'm very well. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Some folks at home have the COVID, just like you did last week, and so how are you feeling?
I feel, sorry, I had to mute it for just a second. I feel so much better today than I did last week. I think liquids, staying hydrated, getting rest, getting some sunshine, all those things good for the soul. And
So many people are getting COVID right now. I was looking at the statistics. It's a new variant that it's come up that, they said it's kicking people for about 14 days, 2 weeks, and sometimes a month to kind of really feel like yourself again. It's no joke, is it?
No. Mm-mm. No, I felt fine when I got up that Saturday morning, and I was a little stuffy, but I thought, well, that's because I slept with my hair wet. And about 4 hours later, I knew. I just listened to my body, and I was like, this is not, something's going on. Like, this is not my typical self. It might be typical for a lot of people, but it's not my typical self. And so I had to listen to that. And I had to do things I didn't want to do, like lay in bed. But I'll be honest with you, I shouldn't have said that way. Well, you know what? I'm not going to shit on myself either. But let me rephrase that. I don't typically lay in bed. I'm not one to lay in bed and just kind of, herkle-durkle, as they say. But it required me to lay in bed. And I couldn't really do, nor did I want to do anything but lay in bed. It was horrible.
Well, there are those times in our lives when that happens. Elizabeth is with us. Hey, Elizabeth. Hello.
Hello, Elizabeth.
We are back doing a launch date, and we had a little break. We had to put a little pin in it. And speaking of, putting a pin in it and kind of stopping and resting and taking your time when you are sick helps you get better. It has how your body heals. Now, I can totally vegetate. I can totally veg out, if I'm sick. See, there you are. There you are again.
I'm trying to adjust my volume real quick. I couldn't hear you.
Okay. Oh. Well, there you are.
I'm back.
Okay. I'm so glad to share the lunchtime on Wednesday with y'all. Well, we're glad that you are here. If you guys are here, you can always leave a comment wherever you're watching us, whether, Evelyn, my friend, and my cousin Evelyn, here in Louisiana. So all the relatives are listening. Hey, by the way, my cousin Tim is in the hospital. He's been in the hospital in intensive care, and so prayers up for him. He likes to watch us. Tim Free is he's got some issues going on, and we are praying for you, Tim, and hope that you get well. It's not COVID. He's got some heart issues and some kidney issues and some stuff going on. He's in intensive care, and so just know that we love you. Today I want to talk about not depression, because if you are and if this is your deal, and if you have clinical depression and you need to do something about that, there are things to help you with that. I'm talking about the blue day, the occasional day where it just pops up, and for no reason, okay, all of a sudden grief. Maybe you lost your mother 12 years ago. And all of a sudden you're walking along and you just are overcome with this grief that happens. Maybe you run into someone at the grocery store who brings you a lot of their memory triggers. And maybe that memory trigger happens and you just go, oh, how do I deal with it? You just have those blue days that come along, and all of a sudden it's just like, bam. You couldn't prepare for it. Nothing really happened. The unexplainable blue days. And I wanted to see if you had some tools, Teri, to help us on those blue days?
Yes. To your point, if someone is having consistent long-term, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to eat, or I want to eat everything in sight and I'm going to go bungee jump and all these other things, either one of those extremes can be um, diagnosable depressions. So if you feel like it's, if you're trucking along and you're having a good run at it and suddenly you have a blue moment, then yeah, having the tools, recognizing what's the company you've been keeping, how much social media have you been taking in, have you been putting too much sugar, too much caffeine in your body, are you getting rest? Those things. I know that as human beings we have long periods of just kind of blah, but I don't know that we really have, unless we're in a dance with grief or depression. we have to be willing to look at like the moments. Like you might see someone who triggers you and brings up some bad memories, but it's up to us to carry that into the next 24 hours.
Right.
Or, how can you treat yourself? It all stems for me, it goes back to the littles. What can I do? What do I need for myself right now in this moment? There was a great post that one of my clients sent me, and I shared it with a couple other folks. There's no one in this world that you have to really care about what they think. Like no one, except your 8-year-old you and your 80-year-old you. And if you can please your 8-year-old you and your 80-year-old you, then you're in that vein of living in the present moment, understanding that things are going to happen and we're going to get bulldozed every once in a while by some sadness, but also recognizing it for what it is. About this in the past, emotions can come in, they have about a 90-second lifespan, and so when they buzz in like a wasp buzzing in front of your face, if you freak out and you start swatting and screaming and yelling and then you're going to draw more of that to you. Your brain is going to dump the chemicals that are going to get you stressed out. Your cortisol is going to spike, and you're going to be either irritated, sad, raging, or in a puddle crying somewhere, depending on what your typical reactionary process is, the behavior to that. So being mindful that, when you feel that moment come in, it's okay. It's okay to see somebody in the grocery store or wherever, or somebody that looks like somebody, and it makes you sad for a minute. It's okay to look on the calendar. I tell clients all the time, this anniversary date of a passing, of an ending of some sort, be it job, relationship, life,
birthdays,
it's going to come around every year. So you either prepare for it or it sucker punches you and you feel bad. So,
Jamie is joining us. Hi, Jamie. Hey, ladies, I've missed both of your beautiful faces. You're nailing it, Devon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jamie. So good to see you. And Jill Pavel is with us. Elizabeth says, I've learned what I need to do to take care so I don't end up with the blues. Lack of sleep is a huge trigger for me. That is big. Because I love going without sleep. And I need sleep.
Going without sleep just incites and aggravates sleep deprivation, which aggravates brain fog, which aggravates forgetfulness, irritability, sadness. It heightens all of our lower emotions. And when I say lower emotions, I don't mean emotions rank over one another. But when you're not getting sleep, if you've seen the movie Inside Out, when you're not getting sleep, your little Joey character cannot be jumping around and living her best life because you're heavier at that point, mentally and emotionally heavier.
Exactly. Jamie says, my motto is feel what you feel, then take the damn wheel. I really like that. I love it. Oh, and there's Candy, my sweet Candy. I love her. if I ever need to hit, she's one of those kind of voices when she does her tapping videos. She teaches tapping and talks about it, and I watch her and I can just calm down. It's amazing. I can be all up in my, it not in my sadness, but in my head when I start spinning and I can't do one thing. So I just go and watch one of my candy videos. Chris Cummins, how are you, Chris? I haven't talked to you forever. Yes, years after my father passing, still break down so hard to take it worst day in my life. I tell you, hi, Devon. I have a lovely day. Chris is down in Australia. I think you're still down there. Are you still in Australia? Elizabeth says, I have a couple days a year that are blue days. The longer the time frame between the event and today helps, as I find the blues less every year. I still remember, but with less emotional tugs.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Elizabeth makes a good point. A lot of times people, the brain being the wonderful computer that it is for us, its job is to have us remember. So when you have an event that happens in life and it's painful, be it mentally, emotionally, physically, every time we retell that story, the brain is trying to cue up the same level of emotion, the same level of anger, the same level of sadness. And that's not how it is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the brain's job. So what happens is when the event happens, and then the brain, or I'll do it this way, when the event happens and then the brain cues it up a year later, it'll start a couple of weeks or months out from where the actual event is or whatever's going on. And it will cue it up so that we start ruminating and we start getting this fever pitch going, whether it's a low, sad fever pitch or whether it's a, angry fever pitch. And then what happens is when that date comes around, we're ready. We wake up. The first thing we do is, it's here. But it will never hurt as bad as it hurt the initial time. Our brain will tell us. Doesn't mean we don't miss people. Doesn't mean we're not sad. Doesn't mean any of that. But the brain is imprinted at a certain way with any kind of heaviness, sadness, loss, anger, any of that. And the brain tries to emulate that every time we think of it again. And that's actually not healthy for us because it keeps us trapped.
Wow.
It keeps us from being actually happy. Doesn't mean that we don't have sad moments, angry moments, just blue days. But we have to be careful because as I tell clients and in my own experience, in my life, I know that it's never happy when we lose someone out of our life, right? When they physically pass away, transition. But if we spend the rest of our days, however many days we have left on this planet, in that dark place, because they're not here anymore, we're not honoring all that beauty they brought to our life.
This is true.
We have to find pockets to allow that happiness, to allow that joy, to allow that remembrance. Whether it's someone that's not in your life and they're still alive, or whether it's someone that is no longer among the physical living of us.
Well, Shannon is joining us. Shannon, I don't know that I've ever gotten a comment from you, so it's really good to have you. She's going to a funeral tomorrow. She says, I need this. We all need this. We have lost so many people of late, and I've lost some people who are really dear to me. And Bill Porter joins us from California. Hi, Bill. Jamie says, thank you, ladies, for hosting this. I've missed it so much. You guys have helped me through so much. Well, I'm glad that you're here. And Keith Camp is with us. This is a first-time comment that I remember from Keith. Yes, ma'am, you're so right. I take my pain and write it out. It truly helps. Plus, I've written a great song that could bless someone else.
Right.
Yeah, being creative. That's another great tool, is to create, whether you paint, whether you write, something creative. Sometimes you go and build something. I had a friend that when she lost her father, the two of them did woodworking together. When he passed, she says, I can't do woodworking anymore. I just can't. Reminds me of him. And I talked to her and I said, but what if you did? But what if you did do woodworking? And she said, I just don't know. I just don't know. Well, she went back and she made something, and it reminded her, and she felt his presence so strong that it was a therapeutic thing. She did what they did together. So that's another tool. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth says, Labor Day used to crush me and have me in bed for several days. Now I simply refuse to allow a date on the calendar to dictate how I'm going to feel. And I can help that by not allowing myself to give into the muck. Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, Heather. Heather is precious. Horse friend, great massage therapist. Heather says, I've been having a lot of these lately. Sometimes it's just a change in your life. Sometimes maybe you lose a job that has been your identity for a long time. And then all of a sudden you go, but I'm going to go get that same kind of job. Well, maybe that same kind of job is not what you need. Maybe you need a change. Then you ask, I was talking to someone last night and I said, but what is it you would like to do? What do you have passion for? Because for me, I could just do so many things. I have a list a mile long of things I haven't gotten to do yet. And I mean, it's like when I wanted to be a pet sitter. People said, you want a what? And I go, I want a pet sitting service. I love that. I want to do that. And it was absolutely the joy of my life. I really, really loved it. Should something happen in my life again, I will probably do that again because it was just so much fun. And so I think is finding and asking yourself your passion questions is another thing that you can do. What is it? Find something that you're passionate about. And I think that we don't ask ourselves that question anymore because we've had to do something. We've had to do something to pay the bills, or we had to do something. But we've never asked ourselves, what do we want to do?
Well, and there's room for, doesn't mean that if you have something that you're passionate about, you have to give up your day job either. You can
right.
start implementing that in your afternoon or your evening or whatever your schedule is or permits. The other thing I will say is that, a lot of times for people, seasonal and situational depression hits in, and this is about the time of the year. It's usually around September when people start to shift, and there's this nostalgic grief that comes around for people. It makes a lot of people very longsome. I don't think that's a word, but I like it, so we're going to use it.
Yeah.
It makes us crave or want to revisit times in the past that felt good to us. Like I know, for instance, yesterday I was outside. I'm not in the same place that you are now, Devon, so I have a different weather. Mm-hmm. So yesterday I was outside and it was about 76 degrees. Y'all don't hate me. Oh. And the wind, there was a nice breeze and there was a band. It was in the afternoon and the high school band that's just, I don't know. I can't spit and hit them, but I might could throw a softball. I'm not sure if I still have that in me. But I could hear them practicing. And it reminded me immediately when the band kicked in. First off, I recognized the weather and I was like, oh, this feels good. And then I heard the band. And immediately I was 17 years old again. And I was like, oh, I remember those football games on Friday nights and just the friendship or the just the crispness in the air and that kind of stuff. And yes, it feels good, but it also puts a little bit of like on us because it's like, oh, I'm not there anymore. But what I did was I got me a Diet caffeine-free Coke and I went and I sat outside and I just listened and I was like, oh, this feels so good. And it brought up a lot of really good memories from days past. And so that was enough, like to just sort of feel the, like squirrels collect the little nuts during the fall for their hibernation.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little collection of memories for me. So we can do those kind of things, but also, also people who don't have great experiences in high school, or maybe you were the star athlete and you're really sad now because you're not the star athlete anymore. Those things can bring a different, where me, it brought like, oh, this feels so sweet. It can bring something different for someone else. So that's another thing, is being mindful. If you're in a space where you're either bringing in a good memory or you are trying to navigate a sadder memory, be careful who you're talking to, because if you're talking with someone who, they're having a really blue memory too, then that memory, that energy is fixing to double down, and you're probably going to walk away from that feeling a little harder or a little sadder than you did when you walked into it.
Mm-hmm. Jill and Elizabeth are both giving the thumbs up on the fur babies and how much they help, and so does Candy. Bill says, my dad has been gone 5 years now, and I feel sad for him when I watch my mom with my 2 grandchildren, knowing he never had the opportunity to physically experience them like my 87-year-old mom.
Absolutely, Bill.
Those are some sad moments. Last week, I just got really sad about my dad. I was just really missing him. I really wanted to go get in the boat with my dad and go fishing. I wanted to go get, put some shiners out on a hook and go after some white perch. I really wanted to. I wanted to sit on a.
Why didn't you?
I don't have the wherewithal to go do that. I don't have a boat, and I don't have some of those things, and I'm not I wouldn't even know where to go for white perch here. I mean, I don't even know how to even do that, but it was those moments. But what I did was I took that moment. I said, my dad must be near. I always feel like on the other side of I said, he must be here. He must be fishing. So I sat there and talked to him, and I'll be dadgum if I had a little cardinal that came in and sat and just sat with me, just sat, little cardinal. It's not even cardinal season for me, but there was this little cardinal, and whatever you say, whatever. Usually my dad visits, and I feel like it's a mockingbird. And but I just had a conversation with him, and that thing lifted. So if you are missing someone, that might mean that they're close by. It might mean that you need to have a conversation. Barbara is with us, and she says, hello, you lovely. It's been a while. I stopped in. Have yourself a blessed day. And she also says, my dogs are what saved me after my husband passed. Animals are a great, they're angels. They really are. Whatever your animal is. I mean, I've had people with dogs, people with cats, people with birds, people with rats. I didn't mean to be Dr. Seuss in that, but there are animals that really help us. Oh, Bill says my dad comes as a dragonfly.
There you go. I started to circle back and say, I love that Bill said physically, because you know me, Devon, I'm always talking about they may not physically be with us anymore. And a lot of people, that goes over their heads, but physically, yes, they may not be in our presence, but they energetically are never far from us. And so I think, if you do have it, it would be great if you had a pond on your property, because then you could get you a Home Depot bucket, flip it over, and just cast out into that pond. Even if you didn't have anything in there, it still is a memory connector kind of thing. And if you don't have those things, then absolutely having the conversations, sitting down and just talking, just expressing and talking to your loved one, it's a huge gift. It's a huge gift for a person when they can allow themselves to step outside of the veil of grief and connect with their loved one, because the love is there.
Bill says it's the same color dragonfly all the time. I love that. I really do. I really love that. There are things that you can do for the sad days that are not just about grief, but let's say, for instance, I always say what you take in is what you take in. For instance, if you've been watching a lot of dark TV,
Mm-hmm.
Turn it around. And, I go and I kind of mainline dry bar comedy on YouTube. It's clean comedy. Not that I have any problem with the dirty comedy, because I think that's hilarious too. I like all of comedy, but but Dry Bar has a good collection of people, and people like Jeff Allen and stuff, that they just make me laugh. And for some, Matt Rife is somebody else who is very funny to me. So I'll listen to comedians over and over and over and over. And then it's magic how laughter begets better feelings. Those endorphins kind of start coming out. Suzanne just joined us. Hey, Suzanne. Sunshine is another thing. We have had more days of sunshine in Tennessee than in history. Just,
and that's a great thing, as long as it's not accompanied by sweltering heat. Like, sun is great.
Mm-hmm.
The company you keep, sun, the food that you put in your body. When you talk about the what you're putting in, like if you watch comedy, maybe it's Grace and Frankie, maybe it's Schitt's Creek, maybe it's Arrested Development, maybe it's comedians. We're saturated. We've been pummeled. It feels like. I said to somebody one day, I said, I feel like we got to come out shining and smooth, because we've been in one of those rock stone grinder pummeling things for the last, what it feels like 5 years almost. And so, and everything doesn't go back to COVID, but it does go back to a new way of everyone being, and a new way of everyone's brain adjusting, and a new way of what everyone's brain seeks out. And so, there's a lot of stuff going on, on the political front these days. And so people are oversaturated with that. They get overstimulated with that. And then there can be friends and families and church stuff and all kinds of stuff. And it becomes too much. Sometimes we have to genuinely unplug. You have to unplug and plug into something that feels good. Kick your shoes off, go stand outside in the grass, lay down in the grass. If the wind's blowing and it's pleasant outside, ground yourself. Let your energy actually ground. We're not grounding these days. We're in this fight or flight sort of mode most of the time for people, waiting on for it to slow down, but yet not doing anything for it to slow down.
Just, and taking walks periodically. Give yourself a time to go outside, even if you literally walk in your backyard, or, walk around in circles, do some stretches. Stretches are amazing. That's why our dogs and cats always do them, because they release some of those things. There are physical things that can work on your emotions. Candy says, I don't watch news or horror movies anymore, just so I'm not in that negative or dark space. That's good. And Elizabeth says, I also cleaned house and no longer spend 1 minute with people who bring nothing but ugly to life. Woo! That's good. Candy says, me too, EB. I've stepped away from those people who are drama-filled, negative, dark, or who say ugly things. You don't even realize. I didn't realize how someone who just is critical of things they don't, just for the sake of the first thing out. If they see something and I'm going, well, what a pretty flower. Well, it was coming up through the crack in the sidewalk. It's like weeds everywhere, weeds everywhere. And I'm going, well, I thought that was really cool. I'm down taking a picture of it, thinking, how cool is this?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times people, we have our own notions of ourselves as individuals. There's a lot of people out there that are baseline negative, but if you had a conversation with them, they would never admit it, because they don't see themselves that way.
No. And just like, for instance, someone walks in to Walmart and they've got on pajama pants and a pair of house shoes. And my first thought is, dang, I'm going to wear my pajamas and my house shoes next time I go into Walmart. That looks comfortable. That looks like the way. That's awesome. They feel comfortable enough in their own skin to just wear whatever makes them feel good. And the other person's like, people will just go out in anything. Would you look at that? And I'm thinking, wow. I have, because my whole life is not, I grew up with a lot of critical, comments about things. And if, that old poster they used to have up, if you raise a child up with criticism, they learn to be a critic.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised up with criticism, but I learned to give compliments. And it's different. And that is the truth. It's just people raised by an alcoholic say, I became an alcoholic because my father was an alcoholic. And then person says, I never take a drink because my father was an alcoholic. You get to make your choice every single day. You get to make your choice in how you do what you do, how you combat the sad.
And how you invite the happy.
Suzanne
because
says,
I'll be honest with you, there's some people in the world that have never truly experienced genuine happiness.
Mm-hmm.
They know what manufactured happiness looks like, but they haven't really experienced genuine happiness.
Right.
And genuine happiness scares them. So when they get close to it, they destroy it. Mm-hmm. Or when it gets close to them, they destroy it.
Yep, absolutely. Suzanne says, I live and exercise and meditate in my pool. She likes her pool. And Barbara goes out on her porch swing and just watches and listens to the sounds. Candy says, we have so many people that are just living in that survival mode because they don't know what to do for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I like this. This makes me laugh. I could be the people of Walmart coffee table book when I go out some days.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, it's so funny because this happened a few years ago and I saw someone in Kroger and I turned and went down another aisle because I looked so bad. I mean, I'll do stuff without makeup. I'll do stuff like today. I mean, I don't care about all that stuff, but on this particular day, I'd been out taking care of animals. I was just running in to get a couple of things and running out. I was like, oh Lord, I don't want to run into somebody. Well, I didn't realize they had seen me and had gone the other direction too. And we absolutely met at an end cap trying to get away from each other. And she looked at me, she goes, I was actually running away from you. And I said, I was running away from you. I said, I look bad. I don't feel like myself or whatever. And she says, I look terrible. I don't feel like myself either. And we both had this come to Jesus meeting right there in the Kroger at the end cap, going, how silly is it that we both probably needed a hug from each other? And so that's what we did. And both of us said, you know what? It changed me. Then no matter what I look like, if I see somebody that I want to see, I find them and I say, hey, how are you? Oh, Bill says, sorry, I have to go. Have a blessed day. Well, we're almost done, Bill. You're not missing a thing. God bless you. Have you a great day. We love you. We love you. Bill is a teacher and he's amazing. Elizabeth says, toothless me will go anywhere. And we laugh because we both have veneers and she had a veneer that I no longer let a flaw stop me from seeing who I want to see or being where I want to be. I love that.
Oh, there you go.
So, well, that's our show for today.
Well, all righty.
We gather here every week just to kind of talk about stuff that I always say the elephant in the room that we don't always talk about, but we have sad days.
And we have good days. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't be shied away from you're right. We have sad days and we have good days, but you know what we don't have? We don't have unlimited days.
Woo! Y'all, that you need to get in the lotus position to have that. We have sad days, we have good days, but we don't have unlimited days.
So we have to really be mindful You have to be mindful who you're sharing that energy with.
Well, I love that. I love that. Well, Heidi, me says good afternoon. Great to see you. So Heidi, join us on the replay. If you just joined us, we are here each and every week around midweek. We take our lunch, just a little lunch break with Launch Date. And we're all so glad that you guys have joined back with us. And if you have a topic you'd like to, just let me know. DevonO'Day@gmail.com.
That's right. That's right. Are we taking it in? Are we reeling it in and walking it back now?
Yeah, I'm turning it over to you. Oh, Evelyn Ford, good to see you again. Lost my only sister around Easter, so I got lots of blue days. Oh my God, I cannot even. If I lost my sister, I just don't know what I'd do. Evelyn, my heart goes out to you.
Absolutely.
As all of the people that have been putting in their loss in the comments, we're sorry for your loss, but we are all God's children. We have what you said. We have loss.
We do, and it's not always pleasant for sure, and it's not always easy. So on that note, as each of you are navigating your week to get you either back into a flow of happiness or to get you into a flow of not wanting to throat punch somebody next to you or whatever flow you're trying to get into, be sure to take time to check in with yourself to see what it is that you need and also to see what it is you can give yourself, because we can't always ordain the person next to us for fixing us and making us happy. So we have to do that for ourselves. And that is one of the biggest gifts that you will ever give yourself. And on that note, until we see you next Wednesday at the high noon hour, wherever you are in the world, please take care of yourself. Like Devon said, send messages to her if you want, or reach out to me at teripugh.com with suggestions or messages. And above all else, increase your peace. We'll see ya.
Suzanne just put that in the comments. Bye, everybody.